Lord Mayor of Dublin, Councillor Ray McAdam, Taoiseach Simon Harris and Minister for Justice Jim O'Callaghan, Chief Rabbi Yanni Weiner, and of course Holocaust survivor Susie Diamond, Professor Thomas O'Dowd, Chairperson of Holocaust Education Ireland. Agus gwynwys le galer is cwys fôr onora dom, efe eloir yn sio, in fôr jawnter, lá cuine chain an ila lusca. Agus is o caid an hochtach, agus mohucánach I sio, don phobal judach fud na tíre. An lá dhéanamid Comóra, Sarah Auschwitz in mi an áir nege dahad a cuig. Agus haar ein rod eile is small gan lehéad anam an duine an tuile lusca. Dá bhrí sin is searmanas anna suntasach seo, mar go leannig sé de bheith ag spreagan an glúnta chun ard a chóirt an ré a chuig hart, agus gan an tuafás chéine a rinne, gan cinenne díthú, glanna etnach, agus na hasnamh bhrí réine is massa a dhéanamh chuige. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honour to have been invited here today to speak at Ireland's Holocaust Memorial Day. In particular, I am honoured to share the room with survivors of the Holocaust and their families, including those who sadly left us this year. It would be remiss of me not to recall and pay tribute in particular to the late Joe Weselski, who recently passed away as Ireland's oldest man. A resistance fighter and Holocaust survivor, Joe brought his story of survival and heroism to Ireland, where, in his new life, in his adopted homeland, he continued to contribute in so many ways to our society, including as a committed supporter and attendee at this national commemoration event until very recently. This is a very important and emotional afternoon for our Jewish community in Ireland. We unite to remember the 6 million Jews who were persecuted and murdered, and the millions of other victims targeted on the basis of their ethnicity, disability, sexual orientation, or political and religious beliefs. By the end of the Second World War, most of Europe's Jewish communities had been decimated, and a great number of Jewish communities in Eastern Europe and parts of the Balkans had been utterly devastated. An estimated 2/3 of all of Europe's Jews were killed in a program of systematic and industrialized murder, the aim of which was their total elimination. As I referenced in my opening, a year ago I had the honour of spending International Holocaust Remembrance Day at Auschwitz-Birkenau, where we marked the 80th anniversary of its liberation. The feeling of grief and desolation that permeates that place is very real, and I carry it with me. The shocking atrocities and cruelty perpetrated during those darkest of times inflicted profound intergenerational wounds that go to the very heart of the Jewish community today. So many innocent men, women, and children had their right to life, dignity, and liberty taken from them. And we as a global society were denied the enriching influence of their talents, their gifts, and their inspiration. The sheer scale of the cruelty, the inhumanity, the devastation remains almost impossible to comprehend, and the passing of time has not dimmed the horror. But we must always be careful that incomprehension does not lead to inattention, because inattention allows bad seeds to grow. Inattention allows hate and prejudice to insinuate themselves into public and private discourse. We are reminded of Hannah Arendt's oft-quoted phrase about the banality of evil. We must reflect on her words when she talked about the strange interdependence between thoughtlessness and evil. And that is why we must always remain mindful. We must always remain vigilant. In this context, I want to pay tribute to the work of the Claims Conference, the international organisation helping Holocaust survivors, and working to ensure the crimes of the Holocaust are remembered and taught, who just this week published the results of their first survey on attitudes towards the Holocaust in our country. There is some very sobering reading in that work. Most starkly, a finding that almost 10% of Irish people aged 18 to 29 believe the Holocaust is a myth, while almost 20% of the same age cohort believe that it happened, but that its scale has been, quote, greatly exaggerated. The Holocaust is the most clearly documented crime in world history. Its savagery and scale are undeniable, as are the identities of its victims. This level of ignorance and denial is shocking and must be opposed and dealt with. Within this, we must all understand that the foundation of the Holocaust was anti-Semitism. While not all anti-Semites supported it, it would have been impossible without the corrosive evil of this deep prejudice. Every decent person should be appalled at the levels of anti-Semitism which still exist. We should be outraged at the need to provide protection for Jewish places of worship. It is the duty of every person who believes in basic human dignity to call out anti-Semitism wherever they find it, and that includes our society. The level of Holocaust denial and distortion revealed is not unique to Ireland, but it is a very clear reminder of the critical importance of your work in Holocaust Education Ireland and the need for all of us to do more in terms of education and public awareness. And it's also a reminder, as I've said, of the importance of pursuing a zero-tolerance approach to anti-Semitism. The more encouraging news from this research is that 92% of those surveyed believe that it is important to continue teaching people about the Holocaust. In me and in this government, you have a willing and eager partner in meeting this challenge and objective. Our Minister for Education, Hildegard Naughton, and her department are working with the Department of Foreign Affairs to develop an education programme with the Auschwitz-Birkenau Foundation. And the Claims Conference, along with the Jewish Representative Council of Ireland, has come forward with a very interesting proposal about giving schools access to survivors via video conference to discuss and to learn from their experiences, which I will also develop with our Minister for Education. We are living in increasingly unsettled times where post-World War II norms of behaviour and language are being constantly undermined. We are seeing growing instances of people feeling comfortable expressing anti-Semitism, racism, and intolerance. The Claims Conference research tells us that almost a third of Irish people have encountered Holocaust denial or distortion while on social media. We see language and an attendant hatred that continues to move people to violence and murder. I know I speak for everyone here today when I say that our hearts go out to the families of the victims of the atrocity in Sydney last December. A terrible reminder that such virulent hatred exists and can manifest itself in terrible violence and murder. And so as we remember the Holocaust today, we think too of those 15 people, including a Holocaust survivor, who were murdered celebrating Hanukkah. At the time of that atrocity, I spoke about the feelings of vulnerability and isolation that an event like that could have on our own Jewish community, and made it clear in Dáil Éireann that our Jewish neighbours are an important and very valued part of our society. I stated clearly and unambiguously that there can be no place for anti-Semitism or anti-Semitic rhetoric in our country. I reiterate that message today. Sometimes, in the darkest acts, we can see the hopeful side of humanity. It is often said that for evil to exist, it requires good people to do nothing. In Sydney, we saw people refuse to do nothing. We saw people stand up to the attackers at great personal sacrifice, undoubtedly saving lives by their actions. We pay tribute to and take encouragement from that example of selflessness. Indeed, it serves as a stark reminder of the reason we gather every year at this event. It is to commemorate the victims of the Holocaust, but also to ensure that these unspeakable events are not allowed to fade with the passing of time. And that is why we are especially honoured that today, over 80 years after the Holocaust, we still have the privilege of interacting with survivors. And I would like to pay tribute to the fortitude and resilience of Susie Diamond and Tommy Reichenthal. And indeed, I heard Susie speak eloquently and movingly on the This Week programme at lunchtime. And we wish Tommy the very best also. And both of them have shared their experiences on a number of occasions with us. And we've all heard the harrowing stories that Tommy and Susie have to share. And in that act of sharing, they are providing an utterly essential service to their fellow human beings. Tommy and Susie, and Tommy's son David is with us this afternoon, just want to say to you both that we are profoundly grateful for your courage and for your generosity. You are an inspiration to current and to future generations. We've all a great deal to learn from your mission and your outlook. You are no less than living testaments to the strength and resilience of the human spirit, having never allowed the flame of hope go out. The candles that are lit today symbolize the unquenchable light that still resides within each of you 80 years on. It is a light that is also carried by the generations who succeeded victims of the Holocaust. Some of you here today are second, third, or fourth generation survivors, including from the Roma community. And I'm delighted that Karina Camarino, Nicholas Brown, Alexandra Pashkovska, Yoram Tucker, Chief Rabbi Yoni Vider, and Caroline and Molly Zin Collis, and Monica Pashkovska, that all of you are here with us for this important occasion. And we stand in awe of each one of you, because collectively we salute your extraordinary fortitude and thank you for your commitment to promoting the peaceful and respectful coexistence of humankind. This ceremony reminds us of the dangers of prejudice and intolerance of others who don't share our beliefs or customs. Our generations owe it to those who died to ensure that we do all in our power to never allow the seeds of such hatred take root again. I'm acutely conscious that our Jewish community here in Ireland is experiencing a growing level of anti-Semitism. I know that elements of our public discourse has coarsened. I know that the proposed renaming of Herzog Park caused deep hurt. I condemned it at the time, and more recently when delivering a lecture on the work of the late Professor Dermot Keogh, exploring anti-Semitism in our country, I said that when a group of people decide that they will seek to rename the only public park in our capital city named after an Irish Jew without any consultation with the Jewish community, and when they then announce later that they will find a Jew they deem worthy enough to provide a new name, then frankly, the community has every right to be deeply concerned and to express that concern, because that behaviour is not acceptable. Our urgent challenge is to work to ensure that the public realm offers safe spaces where ideas can be shared and debated, and where differing views are tolerated with respect. As part of this work, our programme for government commits us to giving effect to the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance working definition of anti-Semitism, which I was pleased to formally adopt on behalf of the government in January 2025, and to implement the European Union Declaration on Fostering Jewish Life in Europe. Alongside this work, I am establishing a structured dialogue with faith and non-confessional groups to allow for open, respectful and dignified debate and discussion on issues of mutual interest and concern. I look forward to working collaboratively with you and your representatives on both fronts over the coming year. as an gcuireadh chun freastal agus láirta nuamh. Tá méid ile aontaithe inar níoreachtaí a chreisiú chun nach ligfar tú fás an ile losca a tharlú a rís go deo. In conclusion, I want to thank you again for inviting me to attend and speak today. It is vital that all of us actively remember the horror of the Holocaust and redouble our efforts to ensure that the anti-Semitism and racism that enabled it are never again allowed to take hold. Together, we remember.